Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zillow Tech, and yesterday Apple released macOS Sonoma 14.5 to the public. macOS 14.5 Sonoma is available around the world at the same time for everyone, as long as you have a macOS Sonoma supported device. And this update came in at 3.83 gigabytes on my M1 Mac Studio. This is the M1 Ultra version, but it varied depending on the device from 2 to 4 gigabytes or so. Now, this was released alongside many other updates such as iOS 17.5, watchOS 10.5, and other updates for tvOS and HomePodOS, as well as older devices with older versions of macOS and iOS. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go up to the Apple in the upper left, go to About This Mac, and as you can see here, it says Sonoma 14.5, and if we click on it, the build number is 23F79. That just lets you know you're on the latest version. Now, I've been using it for a day or so. We'll talk about performance a little bit later, but as far as new features go, well, we have a few different ones in this update. The first thing has to do with news. So if we go into the News app, wherever I've put it here, and within News, you'll see that it says Introducing Quartiles, a new word game. So that's something we actually have that's brand new here, that they've introduced directly into here, and we now have Game Center as well. So maybe we're playing this game, maybe we go into the game, see if we can go in here, and we go to the three dots in the upper right. We can also see our rankings now. So we have leaderboards with full rankings, so if we want to compare that to friends. Now, if we don't want this, we can turn that off. If we go up to our news, go to our settings, and we can control this with Game Center or not. And it says send your results to Game Center to see how you rank among friends and other solvers on today's puzzles. If you don't want to use this, just turn it off, but you can turn it on and sync this and sort of see how you compare with others playing this game. Apple also updated this with new widget changes. One of the widget changes has to do with the Weather app, where the overall font is a little bit different, just like they did on iOS 17.5. But one of the nice changes they've made has to do with the podcast widget. You'll see we have two different podcasts here, Genius Bar and Waveform. And if I press play on either one of them, I'll press play here, give it a second to actually work, and it changes to the color of the album art of the podcast that's playing. If I switch over to this one, give it a second to play, and it switches to red. So it actually matches whatever you've played. And then, of course, if you haven't listened to it for a while, it switches back to the default color. If we open up Find My, within Find My, under Devices, if we go to Remove a Device, so if we remove this one, it says Cannot Remove iPhone, prepare this device for repair. And this is something that's new, where we have a new repair mode, just like we do on iPhone. However, I would caution against actually continuing and putting it in repair mode, as it doesn't seem that there's an easy way to get it out of repair. So that's something that they've updated. And also there's an update with cross-platform tracking detection. It actually will deliver notifications if a compatible Bluetooth tracker is nearby that you don't own and it's moving with you. This will carry across and notify you on all devices that it's nearby. So that's pretty nice. If maybe you're on a MacBook Pro or you're using an iPad or an iPhone, it will notify you. If even there's a Google tracker nearby, it will let you know. Apple has also included some updates for enterprise users. If we go to their website, you'll see it says What's New for Enterprise in macOS Sonoma. For whatever reason, they haven't updated this in the main page that shows what's new. However, we have two new features. One has to do with mobile device management, or MDM, which can now enforce a specific beta version at setup when using Setup Assistant when using automated device enrollment. Also, the lock screen now has a switch user option when configured to show name and password, and network accounts are available. There's a few bug fixes they've mentioned, and they haven't mentioned any others other than that there are bug fixes, but here they specifically call them out. Where it says reliability of declarative software update notifications is improved. They've also resolved an issue where configured printers may be removed after updating. And then apps no longer incorrectly prompt for desktop and document access when both iCloud Drive and Microsoft OneDrive are enabled. And the uptime command no longer reports inaccurate information. So I'll link this website in the description below. It's very helpful, and I wish Apple would include these in their main notes. There's additional security updates in macOS Sonoma 14.5 as well. Under Apple's security release website, if we scroll down, you can see all of the most recent releases here. And if we click on macOS Sonoma 14.5, we'll see quite a few security updates, everything from Finder to the kernel, to Maps, to PackageKit, and much more. So lots of different updates here, and the one for Finder says an app may be able to read arbitrary files. They fixed this where this issue was addressed through improved state management, and then an anonymous researcher tipped them off to the issue. So lots of different things here. So if you're wondering if you should install this update, I would definitely install it just for these security updates, as it doesn't seem to affect performance or anything else. So the security updates are important enough to update for it, at least in my opinion. And after I've been using this and editing videos with this version, I've edited 2 videos so far with macOS 14.5 using Final Cut Pro and had no issues so far. So it's been pretty stable for me. In fact, I would say it's more stable, at least in the couple times I've edited with it, since macOS 14.4.1, as that was causing some odd crashes. And I actually had it freeze completely on this M1 Studio and reboot on its own with 14.4.1. So far, that hasn't happened with 14.5. Performance-wise, it's great. And if you do have a battery, it doesn't seem to affect it, at least for me. On this device, we don't have a battery, but it doesn't seem to have any effect whatsoever, at least for me. Apple also released an update for Logic Pro. So if you're using Logic Pro, on Apple's newsroom website, you'll see it says Logic Pro takes music making to the next level with new AI features. This is now available for iPad and macOS, so if you use Logic Pro, it should be available with all the new features. Final Cut Pro is coming a little bit later with those similar updates and many more changes. So those things are coming a little bit later for Final Cut, but they're out now for Logic Pro. When it comes to future updates, we can expect macOS 14.6 Beta 1 as soon as tomorrow or the next day, possibly later today, but typically we'll see those right away, and then we'll see big changes in June where we have WWDC on June 10th. They should tell us about new features, what's coming to that, along with iOS 17.5, and that's where we'll see the major features with a final release typically in September or October for macOS. So those are the things that we can expect to be updated, but at this point, there's not going to be any major updates to macOS Sonoma. All of the next updates will be pushed to macOS 15, whatever's in that. Now, if you found anything else I haven't mentioned, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and I'll link this wallpaper, at least the iPhone version, in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.